It's another Friday, and hopefully it is sunny because it's the beginning of May. I know, how did we get here? How did this happen? I'm hoping that it's sunny for you guys because it is not sunny here. On the day that I'm recording this, I'm looking out and my window is just stormy and grey and rainy, and I'm kind of not feeling the summer vibes. So instead, I am going to feel amazing. I'm going to draw some kind of sun on my whiteboard and I'm going to pretend that it's summer, right? Because hopefully when this episode comes out in May, it's going to be sunny. I'm going to be feeling the heat. Hopefully I'm going to be on some kind of holiday, although I'm pretty sure that is wishful thinking. So today's episode, we have two amazing entrepreneurs for you to hear from today. And I'm genuinely so stoked about this particular conversation because it involved so many of the things that I really love. Email marketing, building better relationships with your audience, and surveys. I know, I said that in a kind of radio producer-esque way. And there's a reason for that, because actually today's guests are the amazing Rob and Kennedy from Response Suite. Now, heads up, I do not use Response Suite in my business. Also, heads up, after recording this episode, I really want to. And it is quite likely that by the time this hits your earbuds, I will be raving about Response Suite from the hilltops of Southampton. We don't have that many here, but you know, if there were lots of them, I'd be doing it from every single one. Because actually today's conversation was really interesting and it gives some real insights into how you can better survey your audience, what that can actually lead to, how often you can be surveying your audience, and how you can avoid the death toll of email marketing, which, you know, we all want to avoid, that bland, spam, everybody, never make anything tailored kind of marketing. And that's what today's conversation with Rob and Kennedy is all about. Now, a few things about Rob and Kennedy that you need to know before we dive straight into this. One, incredibly funky hair. It was a sales pitch that they put to me when they wanted to come onto the podcast. And I was genuinely amazed when we turned up to the recording and they both had incredibly brightly colored, jazzy hair with no roots. How does this happen? If you are like me and you dye your hair on the regular, you will know that after about 4 weeks, it starts to fade. After about 6 weeks, you get that really interesting patch of regrowth. And if you leave it longer than 8 weeks, your hairdresser says to you when you turn up, you have terrible hair. It might just be my hairdresser that says that. She's very honest. I really appreciate it. But it is true. Okay, so first things first, either they dyed their hair to be on the podcast, which I would hugely appreciate, even though it's not video, or they are just incredibly good at keeping it looking shipshape and super sharp. So if you haven't seen them on social, make sure you go and check them out on Twitter, because their hair is a thing to behold. And that does come from somebody who dyes their hair religiously every 6 weeks as a redhead. Second thing, they have a background in entertainment. So this episode is filled with really special moments that made me smile the whole way through recording. So watch out for things that usually reside in the theatre or on television. It's pretty cool and also very entertaining. And then third thing, they introduce a secret competition that I had nothing, like no warning about, knew nothing about before they mentioned it at the end of the episode. So if you are interested in hearing what their super cool secret competition, even I'm going to be participating, is, then you need to listen to the episode carefully and then do what they say at the end. It's a really, really fun episode. I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed recording it. And remember, if you want to get into that competition, listen to the episode the whole way through and take action on the thing they said at the end. I will let you dive in to the wonderful world of email marketing and surveying with Rob and Kennedy from Response Suite. Okay, Poddies, I am so excited today Even though it's disgusting, grey and rainy in Southampton. Seriously, the rain is not cool on my end. But I do have two rather fabulous guests on, as you'll have heard in the intro. Rob and Kennedy are joining us on the show today, all the way from Response Suite in, I'm guessing, sunny Newcastle. Welcome, guys.
Hello, thank you, Jess. First of all, can I just say, I absolutely love that really inspiring music that you kicked off the episode with. I just feel like really buzzed now. That's awesome.
It's definitely not sunny here, though.
See, this is the thing. I'm always really jealous. I always imagine up north that it's sunnier than here because you guys have actual beaches. They're sandy. And that's something I'm very, very jealous of. When I moved down to Southampton, I had this kind of vision of myself on a sandy beach every day, you know, laptop lifestyle. And when I came, there were pebbles on the beach. And I was like,
No.
Yeah, I know, that was my response, right?
Disgusting. Yeah, we've got the sand, we just haven't got the sun.
Well, as long as you've got an ice cream, everything is good. But it's seriously so good to have you guys on the show today. I know that I'm really looking forward to it because email marketing has got to be one of my favorite things. I say that, I guess, in a flippant way. You know, I kind of love harassing people by email. I'm just joking. If you sign up to my list, don't worry. You're not going to get like 30 emails from me, maybe. But it's a real pleasure for me to have other people on the show who are really interested and invested into making the world of email marketing a little bit more easy to navigate and actually more useful for sales stuff, as it were. So tell us a little bit more about Response Suite. Like, what are you guys doing over there?
So effectively what happened was we've been building online businesses for a really long time, like north of 10 years. And along the way, like you said, email became a really huge part of everything we did. And like most businesses who use email effectively, we found that it's got like the biggest return on investment for time and money invested. It's definitely the biggest return on investment. But along the way, we started to hear people saying things like email marketing's dead or email marketing's dying and all this other stuff. And we were like, but it isn't. Like, it's still the most effective channel for us to communicate with our audiences.
It is, and also one of the things that's really terrifying is the world's gone absolutely gaga for like Facebook ads and Twitter ads and build an audience on Google platform and stuff. All that stuff's great. The problem is if one of those platforms changes its pants tomorrow and decides you can't have that data anymore, well, you don't own any of it. Whereas if when I've got someone's email address in my email marketing system, I've got that data. I can do something with it. So if Facebook changes its pants tomorrow and says, hey, I can't have that data anymore, don't worry, I've still got the email addresses.
So along the way, we realized that what was making email marketing harder was people were just continuing to blast their email lists with the same bland marketing messages. And we call it blanket marketing. That idea that you log into your autoresponder, your CRM, whatever, and you type an email and you hit send and it goes out to your 100, 1,000, 15,000, 100,000, 15 bajillion people on your list. And what you kind of hope is that the message that you give them is going to suit them in the right perfect way. It's going to hit enough people. It's kind of hope marketing. You're just hoping that enough people are going to resonate with the subject line, that they're going to resonate with the message in the email. They're going to want to click the link, and what you're offering them right there and then at that moment in time, whether it's free or paid, is going to be the perfect thing for them right at that very moment. And that approach doesn't work anymore. There's no way on earth that we can look at our list, our subscribers, and say that all of these people are in the same place, that they want the same thing, that they're suffering from the same challenges, and that we can speak to them with the same language. It just can't be done anymore.
And that's so interesting, isn't it? Because I think there's been this tendency over the last few years, especially in the online space, when people are wanting to build sales funnels, everyone thinks that sales funnels are super sexy and everyone's really excited to build them out, make a ton of money, and, basically just sit back on a pebbled beach and wait for the PayPal dings to come in. But as we all know, this idea that you guys are putting out around this spray and pray marketing, it's not working anymore. Hoping that everybody has the same response to something, one generic email, no matter how good the script is or the template is, it's not converting as well as it once did. And I think people are finding that quite a struggle because it's a different marketplace now.
Yeah, they are. And the thing is, it's because the behavior in which we consume content, consume anything or do anything these days is completely different. Look, even my cat doesn't like the cat food that all cats like. It's a fussy little sod. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, no, I really don't want that today. I don't fancy it. And it's the same with us. Look, back in the day, I know my dad called me the other day and he said, oh, you're watching that thing on BBC One. And the truth is, no, I'm not, because that's not how I or anybody really, apart from my dad, consumes content anymore. I now consume content that I want to choose to consume on my schedule. I don't say, oh, I must rush home from the office because it's 7 p.m. and I want to watch my favorite show. Instead, I'm like, hey, I want to watch New Amsterdam. And as soon as I get in, I can put Prime on. Other services are available. I can put Prime on and I can watch New Amsterdam, the latest episode of my favorite show, at my leisure on my schedule. And that's the way people are different now. We hear all the time, you get on any marketing course, we hear about you've got to create your customer personas. You've got to create customer avatars. You do. You kind of have to do that. But the truth is, thinking that your whole audience can be summed up into 2, 3, or 4 different quote unquote avatars probably doesn't work either, because the more nuanced you can be around that, the more you can specifically talk to someone's needs, wants, their current hot buttons, what it is they're currently looking to solve, then of course, the more you're going to help them and the more sales you're going to make.
I mean, the way that most people handle their audience right now, it's almost like you just throw a load of corn on the ground and you hope that all the chickens are going to come and peck at that corn. And that doesn't really work. You can't just throw that message out there and expect everyone to come running at it. And here's the core reason. Let's imagine that you are a fitness professional, just because this is a nice, easy example we can all kind of understand, even if you're not fitness minded, which we certainly aren't. So let's imagine that you're a fitness professional. Just because somebody's landed on your website and they've opted in, or they've given you their email address because they're interested in whatever free gift that you're giving away at that precise moment in time, that doesn't mean that they all want the same thing. I mean, let's put it this way. If someone is 18 to 35, the way that they're going to have to train is very different to somebody who's 60 plus. But it doesn't mean that people 60 plus aren't health conscious and don't want to exercise. And likewise, if somebody's looking to build muscle, do bodybuilding and stuff, that
you're going to like an ox.
Exactly. They're going to have to be trained in a very, very different way to somebody who's trying to, regenerate after an injury, or if they're trying to train for a marathon, or shed some pounds, or get rid of that baby weight, whatever it might be. So it's impossible for us to assume, just be brazen enough to assume that just because somebody's given their email address for one thing, that we now know what they want. That's absolutely not true. That we have to find out what they want.
What's really interesting is somebody said to me, oh, well, the reason everyone's unsubscribing, it's absolutely terrible. It's because people receive too many emails. Well, it can't be because they receive too many emails. Look, if you were an attractive young lady and you were emailing me every single day, I'm not going to unsubscribe because you're hot. Whereas if I'm getting lots of emails every single day from people who are not interesting, then that's when I'm going to unsubscribe. The reason people unsubscribe is because we're sending too many irrelevant emails, right?
Yeah, and I would agree on that point. I think the interesting thing is that actually we are in a society now where we're bombarded constantly by emails. And one of the biggest bugbears I have about this is that everyone now sounds the same, even though they are perpetuating to be different in some way. Everyone now has the same font that they use. They all have the same photo shoot in front of the Eiffel Tower or somewhere equally glamorous. They'll have the same hairstyle. And everybody, is using this line of, no, I'm different, and this is how I'm different. But actually the reality is a lot of people don't show you how they're different. And I think that's what subscribers have been saying to me, certainly, is that we feel like we're bombarded by a bunch of people who are all the same. And actually it becomes really difficult to differentiate who knows their stuff and who doesn't, because all the content is so similar all of the time.
It is. I mean, as experts on hairstyles and being unique in
and you two have got some particularly jazzy hair going on.
Rob with the red hair. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, it's true. We are all trying to, we all think we're the best thing since sliced bread when we start landing in people's inbox. But the truth is, we're only the best thing since sliced bread for about 3.5 seconds. When somebody opts in for that thing and they get that little kind of hit, that little rush of excitement because they think they've just taken a step forward, they've just said, yes, I'm going to get that thing. The truth is that the following day or the day after that, most people have forgotten who you are and why they opted in. Because again, like you've just said, Jess, they just blend in with all the noise and you're just another email hitting their inbox every day.
I'm going to drag this back, Jess, to your first question that you asked us when we started hanging out, which is, what the heck do we do at Response Suite and how do we help people do it? How about we answer the question now, Rob?
Go for it.
Are you up for it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's roll. So what we basically do is we show people how to use surveys in order for a marketing function, where most people will send not even most people send out a survey now to find out how well you did when providing your service or your product. So someone's just purchased something from you online, perhaps maybe a coaching program or a course or whatever. And a few days later, send them a survey to say, hey, what did you think of that thing? And they go, oh yeah, I thought it was quite good. So now you're getting them to engage with a piece of content, because we know that getting people to engage with content is the most important thing. Sticking out loads of content, everyone's doing that. There's loads of people just shouting into this sort of black hole, which is the internet now. I mean, everything's so overcrowded. So now we get people to engage. And people love giving their opinions. We all love that. It's like, As that saying about everybody has something and they also have opinions. It's that thing. So you get them to give an opinion through a survey, which means their guard is down because they're now offering interaction. And one of the questions in that survey is, what did you think of this thing and how can we serve you better? But also one of the questions that we encourage people to ask is, what is it you're looking for assistance in next? And you can use that information then as a marketing function. So for example, someone's just bought your product about, let's say, how to generate traffic through Facebook ads, because we need another course on Facebook ads because there's not quite enough of those in the world, are there? So we've just bought another one of those, the latest super duper course on Facebook ads. You've bought it, you receive an email with this survey in. What did you think of my course? I thought it was good. I thought it was a 9 out of 10. Always a bit of room for improvement. Okay, Kennedy, what do you need help with next? Well, I could really do with some help on how to actually improve the conversions and the ROI on my Facebook traffic. Okay, cool. Usually at that point, what happens with a feedback survey, the normal sort of platform, is that's the cul-de-sac to your marketing. It's the dead end. That data just sort of sits and rots in the bottom of some kind of CSV file in the back of your survey platform, which you might look at every now and again and go, oh yeah, we did quite good and we outperformed based on last month or something like that. Whereas we think that the survey, rather than it being at the end, the cul-de-sac of the marketing process, actually is the center. That is the beginning, in fact, of the next piece of the marketing process, where you can take that feedback and say, okay, thank you so much for your feedback. You said you now want some help with conversions in this case. Can we have a conversation about my conversions masterclass, my conversions program, or my coaching program? That's just one of the uses for what we do here at Response Suite, is basically allowing you to segment your existing list into people based on their needs and their wants right now. So rather than just hitting that send to all, you now have segmented each of the people in your mailing list into different people who have different wants and needs.
And that's interesting, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people are trying to do more of this. You know, as certainly in my community, people are trying to serve their audiences more often in order to create better programs, better offers, and higher level of results. But in terms of, you know, how the actual software works, if it's telling you what the most popular response is and then effectively putting that person into a bucket, it becomes a lot easier than kind of going through ActiveCampaign and seeing who clicked on what.
100%. The big problem that we had back in the day was we started running surveys because we knew that we had these lists of people in multiple different niches and we needed to be able to find out what they wanted. So we did what most people do. We created a survey, a couple of questions like, you know, what do you want help with right now? How do you like to learn? You know, do you prefer ebooks or webinars or whatever? And then we sent that out to the list. And what happened was the results came back in. And now let me give you a rough example. I'm going to round the numbers here just to give you an idea. But what we found was that, let's imagine that we sent it out saying, you know, what animal would you like to buy as a pet next? And the results come in and 40% of people say that they wanted, I don't know, let's say frogs, right? Pet frogs. You have a pet frog? I don't know, pet frogs. And then let's imagine that people do that. Yeah. And then let's imagine that those 40% of people said that. Let's imagine that 20% of people came back and they said they wanted help. Actually, let's make it 30%. 30% of people say they wanted help, but they wanted fish. And then let's say that the other 30% said that they wanted to buy a llama, right? So you got 40% of people say they want help, they want a frog. You got 30% of people say they want a llama, and 30% of people say they want to buy a fish. What you do, what most people would do, what marketers have been doing for years, is to look at that data and say, well, most of my audience want to buy a frog, so let's do a special offer on frogs. Now, the major problem you've got there is that actually, if you look at it on a pie chart, and you look at it, and most marketers, and we did it for years, would say most people want a frog, we'll sell them a frog. But actually, truthfully, most people wanted one of the other options.
Most people didn't want a frog.
The problem is they're smaller segments. So the largest individual segment said frog, that was 40%. But that's less than half of your list. In other words, 60% of your list said a combination of the other things. Now, in testing it over the last probably about 6 years, we found there are almost no circumstances in any niche for any of our clients or us where most people say one thing, like 80% of the list said they wanted help with that. It just doesn't really happen. It's too wide a spread, which is evidence itself of how different people are. So the problem is that at that point, all you can really do is you can create a special offer based on what that 40% segment said. You send it out to your list, and now you're basically telling 60% of the people about a thing they just said they didn't want, which actually just disengages them, disempowers them, makes them feel demotivated about paying attention to your stuff. So what we decided instead was actually the truth that the only way to sort of make this work is to take every individual person and put them into their own individual segment. In other words, let's imagine you are going to create a product. You would send out the survey, say, what do you want help with right now? Those people would reply. Let's imagine you get 40% of people, the largest individual segment, say they want help with one particular thing. You would take it, you would make a product, and you'd only send it to that 40%. And that means the other 60% don't get that email. But what they get shortly afterwards, if you've already got one or you can very quickly make it, is they get a promotion selling them the thing that they wanted. And then the other 30%, they get the promotion that they wanted as well. So then each person is seeing the exact right thing at the exact right time.
Yeah, and the way we do that is basically Response Suite. We built it purposefully so that you could actually integrate your survey with your email marketing system. So if you use, I don't know, MailChimp, for example, it integrates straight into MailChimp and pushes all of that data in and then tags people correctly in there so you can do that automated follow-up. And we also, it was really funny how when you start using this stuff, how you start coming up with other ideas of wouldn't it be good if, for example, we created a thing called an intelligent thank you page, which is basically you can take somebody to a different thank you page depending on what they said they want help with right now. So if the person said, hey, I really want information on how to keep frogs right now, then on that thank you page, you would say, here's an offer, a discount or whatever on my frogs program. So it's really about turning those feedback into further sales, increasing the actual value of every single customer you've got.
So I like this, and actually for me the similarity comes to grocery shopping, which, you know, as somebody who likes to eat, I do quite a lot, and I liken it to Waitrose. You know, if you shop at Waitrose and you use the points card, or if you shop at Tesco and use their points card, they're always tracking what you're buying, and then you get surprised when a month later, you know, your kind of vouchers turn up for, you know, the orders you put in most often. I'm not going to bore anyone with my shopping choices because
please.
I don't think anyone needs to know about the 17 bottles of Prosecco that I buy every month.
Lightweight.
I know, it's because I'm not Northern. This is my problem, clearly. But I think it's really good, and I like how you guys have taken what effectively has been used almost as an offline strategy for quite a long time in terms of like retaining customers into the online world and made it much higher touch, because actually, you know, the internet marketing industry is lacking high touch components to most areas of marketing. You know, it sometimes feels like when you visit a website or when you open an email, you're effectively shouting into a black hole. You know, when you hit reply to somebody's email, you don't know whether they're going to open it and whether they're actually going to respond. So I really like what you've done there, and it makes customers feel heard.
I think the key for us as well is getting the right balance of automation and manual work. So obviously we live in a massively over-automated world now. You know, you can log on somebody's website and a chat box pops up. And truthfully, there's chat boxes obviously now that are fully programmed to have full conversations with you that do everything that you want.
I mean, I'm not even sure how much of my intelligence is not artificial.
So basically, we live in a world where everything's over-automated. And actually, it's got to the point where, let's face it, okay, you can put hello first name field in your autoresponder emails that you send out, but nobody actually really believes that that's a personalized email anymore. Very few people do. A handful of people do, but most people don't.
Dude, I used to.
Yeah,
I mean, I replied to people.
Yeah, 100%.
Are you on Barack Obama's email list? Did you think he was emailing you directly?
I felt so much significance.
I bet. And I also love the printed signature, because hello, of course, you're writing directly to
on
me.
the screen. I love that. Sign me your sales letter. Completely with that.
So the problem with that is, of course, that people have started to become very aware of it, especially even outside of the sort of marketing world. You know, people in other niches and other areas, they know that this stuff is happening. So for that reason, it's really all about getting the right balance of stuff. So for example, when we started this, because we wanted to be able to, we were doing this survey thing, and just so you know, we were doing it manually for years, exporting CSV files, sorting them out, uploading them back into different lists, till we decided to start Response Suite and build the software to do it. But when we started this, it started because we wanted to put people on different email lists. But actually, very quickly, we became aware that actually the right solution here for your business might be different. It might be that you want to put them into a chain of text messages. It might be you want to get somebody to actually pick up the phone and call them manually, shock horror, based on what they've done. So for example, let's imagine someone buys something from you. You send out a customer feedback survey. You send out a survey to find out, you know, how did it go? If somebody had a bad experience for whatever reason, whether that's their fault, user error, or your fault because you dropped the ball somewhere along the line, as all businesses do at some point, then what happens is you could have it trigger to make a little alert for you to pick up the phone and call them and say, listen, I'm really, really sorry. We messed up. Can we deliver some sort of customer service here? Rather than just having a rant as a keyboard warrior into their survey, hitting send and then letting it go. And so what this means is that you can look at your business and say, do you know what does this really look like? Should this be me sending them a bonjour video to say, thank you for taking the survey and giving us your feedback? Should it be picking up the call to sell them that perfect thing? You know, maybe you've got a high ticket coaching program. Somebody came into your business years ago and they weren't right for it at the time because they didn't have the investment for it, or they just weren't in the right place. But now down the line, you run a survey and actually you detect this person probably is now in the right place for me to speak to them. They now have a $200,000 a year business and they're ready to work with me. Well, at that point, you can schedule it to actually get your VA or you or somebody to pick up the phone and make a phone call.
I mean, some of our customers have actually switched over to using Response Suite itself for their coaching application on the front end, because it allows you to qualify people and figure out whether they are in the right place to offer them your coaching program, or if they're not, rather than waste their time, waste some of your valuable time. If they're not qualified at all, you could just offer them something else that's going to help them get to that point. So if they're not able to join your coaching program right now, and your coaching program is about, let's go back to traffic again, then maybe you just offer them a really simple traffic course, so some Facebook Ads 101 or Google Ads 101, and that'll get them started. So then you can bring them in later, which actually is a really good way of paying for some of your ad spend by offering some stuff to the people who couldn't normally spend anything with you because they're not ready or in that place yet.
Totally. And I mean, I guess the thing that I know my audience will be thinking, because we kind of conform to the lazy school of entrepreneurship over at Smart Leader Sell, is, how many surveys can you really get people to take? Because if you think about it, everyone's so busy. People often cite time as being a major factor in not taking action in their own businesses. So how many surveys could people really be sending out, or how regularly can they really be sending them out to start making some of these decisions?
You know what? Rob and I were recently speaking at a conference, and somebody asked this exact question. We said, have we got any questions? And this lady said, does anybody even take surveys anymore? We were like, okay, so before you came in this room, we sent everybody a survey. Will you please put your hand up in the air if you received that survey? And they all put their hand. Keep your hand up in the air if you took that survey. Unbelievably, they all kept their hands up in the air. So including the woman who asked the question. Now, yes, of course, getting people to take the survey is the critical piece of this. And one of the things we really help everybody with when we're basically, truthfully, we help a lot of our customers to set up their surveys and to set up their systems. We actually work with them personally. We don't even charge extra for it. At the moment, at the time we're recording this podcast, don't quote me in the future. For now, we just want people to really get the value out of this. So one of the things we found, obviously by being able to observe a lot of people running a whole raft of different types of surveys, is the reason most people find difficulty in getting completion rates on their survey is because of what's in the survey. As soon as your survey becomes more than 5 questions long, and we recommend 4, but as soon as you hit 5, the completion rate literally drops off a cliff. So you really, and also you want to do things like make it really simple and not too much thinking to be done by the person who's completing your survey. So make it multiple choice or radio buttons or that kind of thing. So people are just clicking rather than having to type too much. Again, that will increase your completion rate. And also because we're obsessed with completion rate, it's critical to what we do, have ways of retargeting people back to that survey. So for example, with Response Suite, one of the things we built in on purpose was the fact you can put your Facebook pixel onto your survey page. So if somebody visits your survey but does not complete it, you could retarget them into that. So you have to just make sure that it is all about not just what consumption, but actually making sure that people do complete those surveys that way.
The other key for us really is to make sure that this is positioned as an automated piece of the puzzle. So one of the big reasons for creating Response Suite in the first place was, we were getting it done manually, like I said, running a survey and exporting CSV files, sorting them all out into bits and then re-uploading into lists. The problem is it's a real pain to do that on an automated basis. And we really wanted it to be automated, running 24/7. So basically the way that we do a survey, rather than just every so often sporadically, blasting it out to our entire list, is it's built into key pieces of the campaign. So effectively, we run a survey after almost every significant action. So here's what I mean by that. If somebody joins your list today and you put them into some sort of welcome sequence, indoctrination sequence, warm-up sequence, call it whatever you like, in that sequence, we have an email that goes out that references the survey. It says, hey, you've joined my tribe. Welcome to my audience. Thank you so much for paying attention. Listen, I want to make sure I can serve you in the best possible way. Please take this survey and find out what you want to know. And then that would send them over to there. You've got this kind of herd of people who come in and you send them out. They're getting an email. And obviously you might get 10 people opt in today, 20 people opt in tomorrow, nobody the day after that, 100 the day after that. And on their own time frame, they're all going through this sequence. Now, that's the first thing. That allows you then to put them into different tags and different sequences based on what you said, sort of flocking together into all their little different categories and things. Now, of course, the next bit to this is if somebody buys a product from you, it makes sense to run a little custom survey. A thing that most people in the sort of internet marketing world and online community never dream of doing, because we're too busy trying to get the next sale We never think about how using a survey could be like little connector to the next piece. Now, the other thing is if somebody registers for a webinar, we immediately on the webinar registration thank you page, we say, take this quick survey, tell us a bit more about you so we can find out more about how to serve you on the webinar. And then what we do is we put them through a different email sequence between their registration and them actually attending the webinar based on what they said. So if they said that they've got a problem with this, then we would send them through an email sequence that helps them with that and helps overcome their objections to get them on the webinar in the first place. If they said their objection is that, then we put them through a different email sequence that's designed to get them to show up to the webinar.
It's a bit like a choose your own adventure story.
Yeah. The idea.
One.
Yeah. So the idea of this is that it's not about just how often can you blast out a survey to your email list and make it work. It's to make sure that everyone goes through a survey at specific sort of junctions in the journey, if you like. So specific gateways as they go from one place to the next. And so that's what's going to happen. You're going to kind of lead them through. So they get to the first one, they take a survey. They've been on your list for a little while, but you're now able to email market to them a little bit more intelligently. When you get to the next bit, maybe that's them buying a product from you for the first time. You'd run a feedback survey, find out what their next step is. Okay, great. Now you put them through that one. Later on, they register for a free webinar you're running and you put them through that. So it's, as I say, it's about making sure that everyone goes through these systemized and sequenced surveys at interesting and relevant points of their journey.
I really like that. And I think, you know, the potential it has to retain a customer for a lot longer is huge, because obviously if you're giving people specific surveys at specific points of the junction, then it means that obviously you can retain that customer, kind of like you were saying earlier, about making sure that they're getting the right service at the right time. You can keep your person in your ecosystem for, you know, 2 to 3 years instead of an average 6 to 12 months. And that's going to ultimately keep you a lot more revenue. And, you know, drill down on the ad spend as well. You know, it costs a lot now to get a customer in the first place. So if you're spending a lot to acquire them and you can keep them longer and you can make sure that you're monetizing that customer in a way that feels really good for them, you're going to make more money and it's going to cost you less in the long run, which is, you know, always a win for me.
It is. I mean, do you know what else, Jess? Is we talked about at the very top of the show today about everybody's stuff sort of looking the same. And so that means what usually happens is you opt in for somebody's free thing or you buy their little low price thing and then you sort of escalate them through a bunch of different offers. What we all expect now, we've grown to expect, is if I opt in for this thing, you're very quickly going to try and sell me something. So
because marketers are like sheep, right? Somebody does something, somebody creates a funnel, then everybody wants to funnel hack that funnel, just like sheep.
Absolutely. So they're all doing that. But what if you stood out? What if you broke that thing? And instead of saying, thanks for your email address, hey, will you give me some cash? What if instead you said, thanks for your email address, could I have your opinion? What does that do? What does that do in terms of the relationship? Well, one, it builds your goodwill with the person. Instead of it just being another offer where you're basically flogging to them in the inbox again, you're doing something different now. So in terms of implementation, if you're thinking about right now, that you want to go and do this, regardless of which platform you use, obviously we love it if you use responsibly, but regardless of which platform you use, right? What you should do is, what I recommend you do is go out and run a survey to everybody now, the existing people you've already got in there, and then go back and install surveys at really important points along that journey. And the points we would recommend is after what we call significant actions. And that is purchases, that is opting in, registration for things, or it could be, and a really good one is about reactivating people who've become disengaged, because you've already paid in some way to get that person on your list, haven't you? So you may as well, if that person stops opening your emails, they're really disengaged, well, change the stuff that you're sending them. Stop hitting them over the head with the same message and stop selling them more stuff or try to just get them to click on another blog post, because it sounds to me like if they've stopped engaging with that stuff, they don't care about your blog post right now. They decide it's not for them. So if you instead go to them and say, hey, here's something different. Let me know how I can help you. Let me know what your struggles are right now. So again, you're interrupting that and building up the goodwill by saying, hey, I'm here to listen and I'm here to help, not to sell at you.
I really like that. And I think it's important, you know, that whole aspect of relationship building is one of the things I actually really like about the way that you guys position Response Suite and about the functionality that the software has. You know, for something ostensibly that is a software company, it's pretty hands-on, it's pretty high touch, and it makes people feel less like a number and more like you want to have an actual connection with them as a customer. And I think that's a really cool concept to take into a relatively low-touch world.
Yeah, and our whole job here, all of our team, the only mission we have is to allow you to be high touch without having to be high tech. So actually, we do all the technical heavy lifting in the background. When I say we, I mean Colin, our developer here in Newcastle, does all of that bit, does all the thinking, so that we do all that thinking so that you can literally just drag and drop elements. If you can use like MailChimp or something like that and drag stuff into an email system, then you should be able to do these, what sound like really advanced marketing things. We wanted to make them really simple because I'm going to be honest, like Rob's not the cleverest person in the world.
No.
So we need to make sure it's Rob proof. You know what I mean? But in truth, neither of us are technical at all. We don't know our semicolon from our backslash. It needs to really work for us, non-technical people, and be able to still have that power to be able to do all those really amazing things and give that really good experience to customers and subscribers and generally do a better job.
I love that. Thank you guys so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. And it's honestly, I could sit here and talk about segmentation and quizzes and surveys and all the cool things that you can do funnel-wise after those all day. It literally is my jam. So I really appreciate you and your hairstyles coming on. Can you tell everybody where they can find you? If they're interested in learning more about Response Suite, where can they find you guys?
Well, before we tell you that, we've actually got a little confession to make. I'm sorry, we didn't tell you about this when we started, Jess, mate. I'm sorry about that. We had a secret agenda, and what we did is throughout this entire interview, we peppered some suggestions over a theme. So we came up with a secret theme for this episode, which has nothing to do with smart leaders or segmentation or Response Suite
or marketing or business at all.
Nothing at all. And we'd like you and your listeners to have a guess at what that theme was. We've dropped it in throughout the entire episode. We want you to try and guess what it is. So if you tweet us at Response Suite with what you think the theme, the secret theme of the episode was, and we'll pick a winner and we'll give you something lovely. We don't know what it is yet because we just thought about it, but we will give you something really lovely.
It's really heavily loaded throughout this episode, so listen out for that. Go back and listen to it again, and you'll pick up loads of value as well. Now, in terms of Response Suite itself, we've actually put together a special deal for listeners of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. Basically, here's how it works. Right now, you can grab a 14-day free trial of Response Suite, full access to everything, so you can get in, get it all built, start using it in your business, and start making more money from it within 14 days, absolutely for free. But on top of that, we're also going to give you a 4-part training program we put together called the Survey Marketing Masterclass, where basically we teach 8 kind of core principles that you can use surveys in different parts of your business. For example, we'll give you a full campaign to help you get more people attending webinars, to help you get more members back into paid membership sites after they've left or stop them from leaving in the first place, to improve your email marketing, kind of the way we've talked about today, but in more depth. We're going to talk about all that stuff as part of this training course, which I think was $497, but we'll give you that for free. And also a free one-on-one onboarding call with either myself or Kennedy, where we'll literally get into the software with you inside your app. We'll actually build it out. We'll get the integrations done. We'll write the emails with you. We'll put it all together.
Do you mean we're not going to palm them off onto one of the members of our quote-unquote team?
No, we're going to do it.
Okay,
you and me.
I love that.
And then, they're too busy, so we'll do it. And then what will happen is we'll do all of that completely for free as part of the 14-day free trial. So to grab it, all you've got to do is head over to responsesuitedeal.com/Jess, Jess. So that's responsesuitedeal.com/Jess.
Isn't that amazing, guys? So there you go. If you are looking to create better email marketing systems and actually get in touch with your audience, build better relationships, and ultimately make more money, then make sure you head over to responsesuitedeal.com/Jess. I know. Personalized affiliate links here, guys. And yes, it is an affiliate link. And yes, I do have to disclose that because otherwise the mighty wrath of the taxman will fall upon my head. And I just don't want that happening. It's not a really good feeling for 2019. Guys, thank you so much for coming on today. It has been an absolute pleasure. And if you have enjoyed this episode and if you've identified the secret theme, which I will also be tweeting, so, watch out for that. Watch out for what my guess is. It will be wrong, so don't copy it. Definitely go with something else. Make sure that you tweet Rob and Kennedy over at Response Suite. Thank you so much for an awesome episode, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers.
And we will see you on Monday with another awesome episode and some great entrepreneurs next week.